everyone. I am Greg Rosenbaum, the head of South by Southwest EDU. I am so excited to have you join us for another installment of South by Southwest EDU Online. I hope you just enjoyed the screening of the film Autism Goes to College. And for those that missed it, it's a powerful documentary showcasing the experiences of students on the spectrum in college. Today, we're excited to have the director, as well as the students featured in the film, join us for a live conversation and Q&A. Now I'd like to turn it over to the film's director, Erik Linthorst, to kick off the session and introduce the students.
Thank you, Greg, and thank you all for sticking around for a Q&A session now with the cast of the movie you just saw. I'm going to introduce them all in just a second, but I wanted to address one question that came through, which many of you may have, which is where can I find this movie to share with colleagues? You can go to our website, which is autismgoestocollege.org, and you can get all the information you would need there about where to see the film, upcoming screenings, how to become a host, and how to share the film with other people. So I encourage you to go there. You can also go to our Facebook page, Autism Goes to College on Facebook. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. So we're on all the social media platforms. So please reach out to us and let us know how we can help you access the film. Without further ado, I'd like to bring in, we have 4 of the 5 students from the film with us live today. We have Jonathan, Guillermo, Caroline, and Aniella. So they're going to be taking your questions because I know you want to talk to them and not to me. So, but to kick things off, I thought we'd start with letting them tell us a little bit about what's happened since the end of the film. Life evolves and the film ended and their lives have continued on in some interesting ways. So I'm going to call on them one-on-one and let them have an opportunity to bring you up to speed a little bit. So briefly, maybe let's start with Aniella. Aniella, tell us a little bit about what's happened in your life since the end of the film.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Aniella. I'm one of the students in the film. So at the end of the film, you probably noticed I ended up starting a new job at Jukin Media. I'm happy to say I'm still there. I'm for about over a year and a half now. We're just working remotely full time with the whole pandemic. That's what I've primarily been up to for the most part. The voiceover stuff is kind of a little bit on pause, but I've been trying to do it on the side. But for the most part, just happy working and trying to pursue the production stuff in the entertainment industry.
Great, thank you, Aniella. And Caroline, let's go to you next for this question.
Okay, great. So I just graduated Cal State Fullerton with a degree in health science. I had aims of getting my master's in social work, but right now that's not my goal. I'm just looking to get work in the medical field and get some experience. And I have a great partner supporting me. His name is Connor. And yeah, I'm just at a great place. So I just want to thank you all for this.
Great. Thank you, Caroline. And Guillermo, what's up with you?
Oh, well, after the film finished, I finished the field camp and barely by the skin of my teeth, honestly. And through that, well, I actually became very much interested in geology. I was trying to find somewhat of office work during the time, which led me to a nonprofit known as Exceed, which actually helped me gain very gainful employment at a home goods store known as At Home around here in Riverside. And at the same time, recently, I also obtained a life partner. Her name is Tisha, and she is the love of my life. And she just treats me so well, and I'm so happy with her.
Great. We might have more questions about that coming up, but we'll leave it at that for now. Jonathan, tell us what's up with you.
Well, after the film, I eventually managed to graduate from California State University, Long Beach, and, well, I got my degree in Bachelor's of Studio Art, and I've been trying to apply for jobs in studio art, but that's been put on hold for a while. On the other hand, I have been able to earn myself a part-time job at Popeyes in Murrieta, and I've been earning money since then in order to make ends meet.
Okay, great. Thank you for that, Jonathan. All right, so we've got a bunch of questions coming in. I'm going to try to get to everyone. I'd like to start, there's a question here that sort of jumps back to the transition to college. So this is a question about high school into college, and asking you if there was any supports in your high school to help you transition to college, and if so, how helpful were those? Maybe, I don't know if any of you specifically want to speak to this. Guillermo, I think you had an answer to this question when it came up before. You want to take this?
I'm trying to remember. My main support when it came to college was actually my mom. She actually was very helpful in showing me the ways to get to college and things like that. Because to be fair, it's usually the parents who research it sometimes more than the students, from what I've seen when it comes to college. But I did have lots of help in college. I had a great case carrier. I had an IEP that helped me. And even though there were a lot of people that did want to stop me from getting to college in a sense, I overcame all the obstacles, and I basically made them eat their words, actually. And I made it to college, graduated 4 years, and that's what happened.
Thank you. Does anybody else have a specific piece of feedback on that question?
Well, for me, I mostly had the help of my parents, and who helped me learn to live by myself for a while when I was attending Moore Park College. And during my time in high school, we basically negotiated with various applications to eventually get myself into Moore Park College so that I could do the associate's degree of transfer, that eventually I'd be able to attend California State University at Long Beach and live in a dorm for the summer, starting in January of 2017. Living by myself at Moore Park, thanks in help to my parents leaving me by myself some days of the week, helped me learn how to live in the dorms once I graduated to Cal State Long Beach. Everyone was very supportive of me going on to college, pushing me in order to go beyond my limits and make myself more of a man, you know?
And I think it's worth pointing out too that Jonathan and Caroline and Jasmine, who's not with us, all three went to junior college first. And actually, Caroline, in your case, for quite a while, maybe you could talk a little bit about that choice to go to junior college first, and really take your time to sort of figure things out before you moved on to a 4-year. Because a lot of people are still stuck in this kind of mentality of, college is 4 years and you got to go straight to a 4-year. Tell us how you kind of reinvented that idea.
So I had absolutely the support of my family and my friends going into college, but I was certainly doing this on my own. So that's kind of why I was there at the junior college for so long, because they wanted me to do the independent thing on my own, figure it out. So yes, I had the support, but I was really kind of my own cheerleader and figuring things out. And so I was at Fullerton College for almost about 9 years. And I got 2 associate's degrees, one in child development, one in interdisciplinary studies in the arts. And then I transferred over to Cal State Fullerton with a degree in health science, because I just love being in the helping field and making sure I can help others in any way I see fit, which to me is in the health profession. And so it's not necessarily that I see one way is better than the other, but for me, this is what was right for me. And it really helped me kind of grow, having that learning experience from junior college and then going into the bachelor university.
And then for the other two of you who went straight to a 4-year, there's a question here about, was college, what you were expecting? I think I'd be interested to hear from both of you. You went from high school straight into a 4-year university. How was that transition? Was it what you were expecting? And what was that like? Aniella, why don't you start this one off?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the whole overall experience was definitely a little bit different from what I expected. And I definitely would say it was the transition that was probably the hardest. There were like hard times. Like I particularly was struggling my second year, but by end of my first year and my third year, because I graduated a year early, I kind of was surprised to see it wasn't as difficult as I expected. And the more I adjusted, the more I got comfortable. And because going in, my fear was that the classes were going to be extremely hard. I already struggled with my high school classes, and fortunately enough, I was getting into a 4-year, and I made a decision to go to UC Riverside right after high school. So I was surprised in a positive way that it wasn't as tricky. It was a bit of an adjustment, and there were hard periods in classes, but I ended up bouncing back, and it wasn't as tricky as I thought it would be.
Okay, Guillermo?
I really do agree with her, but the thing is, in my opinion, I feel like the toughest things that come out of mainly college more than anything is that transition period too, which I know it sounds like I'm copying her and everything, but it really is, because you're not just adapting to the new work ethic and all these different things, but you're also adapting to, well, having to maybe live on your own or having to scrounge for food. It's like you moved from like a video game that's really easy, where like a lot of things you don't have to think about, to like a game where you have to manage so many resources at the same time that it's just overwhelming at first. You'll get it soon, but it's overwhelming. And I know that's supposed to try to help you be an adult, but it just is an overwhelming thing, which I'm glad I had the support for people, but I really do hope that many other people can get support in some way or another.
And just to follow up on that, with any of the four of you, another piece of the transition is moving away from home. If you moved away from home, I know, Guillermo, you live close to UC Riverside, so you lived with your mom during college. But the other three of you moved out. Jonathan, maybe you could talk about, start us off with the transition to move out of home. How did that make the challenge of going to college more or less, or how easy or hard was that transition for you?
For me, basically moving into a dorm for the first time, well, it was a little disorienting, made me a little nervous at first because I didn't know what the roommates were going to be like. But I was able to move past that and be able to live by myself, handle it quite comfortably, and eventually figure out how to get transportation to and from the various parts of the college when I was either living at either hillside or beachside college dorms. And sometimes during the breaks, during spring break, summer break, or fall winter break, someone who was close to my family or my parents themselves would pick me up so that I could briefly move out of the dorms to live with them in their then home in Temecula. And I knew that I would have their support either by calling them or just figuring things out by myself.
And Caroline, you live near campus, I believe, with your sisters. How was your transition out of living with your folks, and how did that go for you?
So my mom and stepdad live kind of nearby. They live by the beach, but I've been living with my sister for many years now, and it works okay for now. And I also live with my partner Connor, and he's very supportive, and we just support each other emotionally, and yeah, it works out pretty well with us.
And Aniella, how was that transition for you, going from home and no college to suddenly dorm and college life? How did the dorm experience complicate that experience, if it did?
Yeah, I was pretty lucky. I didn't have anything too crazy or anything like that, but it was the first time living by myself. Luckily, my parents, being who they are, kind of really instilled into me all like basic stuff like laundry and all that stuff. So I didn't worry about financial stuff, but I had to worry about all that stuff. And but it was a bit scary living by myself for the first time because I had never lived by myself or with other people before. It was similar to just college in general. It was an adjustment period. But yeah, I think you get used to it eventually. It's kind of, you learn and you go along, but it is harder at first, I think, especially for those of us on the spectrum, because you have a lot going on in your mind and just in general for adjusting to the new living situation.
Okay, I want to move on now, but looks like a lot more people have the same question that maybe tuned in a little late. So I'm going to address this quickly, and then Guillermo, I'll hit you, and then we'll move on.
That was part of the same question too. The whole thing
okay.
about moving in. Like, I may be blessed to have lived nearby. I do know a lot of friends that have lived very far away and have come to UCR or whatever school and everything. I actually know a person whose story really touched my heart because they really came from a rags to riches story because of moving away from their family and having to leave somewhat of their support system behind. It's this person, I met him at work. His name is Will. And Will, he lived in, he lived on the East Coast, Philadelphia more specifically. And he was pretty popular. He was a pretty popular guy, you know, pretty decent with the girls, you know, stuff like that over there in Philly. And he used to play a lot of basketball with his friends and everything. Sorry, I just get kind of emotional telling the story. But yeah, he was a really good basketball player. One of the best from what I heard and from what I saw, because he also played on the UCR team too. And what happened with Will is that, well, during one of his usual go-arounds with his friends and everything, there was a fight that broke out. And, well, his parents, completely scared, decided, okay, you know what? Will, you have to move with your aunt and your uncle to Bel Air. And so he went to Bel Air, and it changed his life forever. And he went to UCR, and he became so successful. He became a grand person in the acts. And that Will is Will Smith. And I literally just made the Fresh Prince of Bel Air joke.
All right. So I wanted to just quickly readdress this. Where can I find this movie to share with colleagues? If you go to our website, autismgoes2college.org, you got all the information there on how you can see it, upcoming screenings, how to become a host, how to rent the film. It's available on Vimeo on demand right now for rental or for purchase. If you go to our website, autismgoes2college.org, it's got all the information. Plus, we are on all the social media. We have a Facebook page where all of our updates are posted, Instagram, Twitter. So please follow us, and you can find ways to see the film there. Okay, now I want to move on to a question. This has to do with disclosure. So, how, you know, did any of you have any reservations about disclosing your diagnosis? Who did you disclose to, and when, and what was the result? Maybe Jonathan, let's start with you on this.
Okay, for me, I started out with more. First, I had to disclose with Moorpark College's disability services, which, yeah, Access. I started talking with Access when my mom discussed it with me, if perhaps I could rely on their services in order to perhaps take advantage of them in order to to get ahead of the curve at Moorpark. And sometimes I disclosed my disability with the professors, and they were all okay with it. After that, once I graduated onward to Cal State Long Beach, I did the same thing with DSS. I did the same thing with them, eventually going on to be a part of their life project thing, where I disclosed it naturally to the head of DSS's life project, Irene Gonzalez, and she in turn sometimes discussed this with my professors, and they were also okay with it. So it's all a matter of confidence if you're willing to disclose it. My recommendation, you disclose it as soon as possible, and if you want to get ahead of the curve.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I agree with Jonathan. And what happens is, yes, because it is very important to disclose your disability, but I do understand how some people can be very wary of that. And I do empathize with them, even though I am the type of person to wear my autism on my sleeve in a sense. Like, oh, hey, I'm Guillermo, I have autism. And some people are like, wow, I never knew you had that. And I'm like, oh, I thought I made it obvious. But what happens is that you really do have to disclose, especially to some of the big people, because, I mean, it's 2020. I don't really think people judge that much about autism, but I could be coming from a different place. And I feel like while there might be people who do judge, I feel like the disability offices are a very safe space where you can say and get the help you need.
Okay, anybody else on that?
For me, it was primarily at first only the offices, both in high school and in college, which was extremely helpful because you need those resources and they really help you out. For me, that was the priority schedule because public school classes are really hard to get. And it was a bit stressful thinking about if I was going to be able to get the classes I needed and wanted to help me succeed. And I didn't I didn't really tell friends though until I was doing this film, and which was towards the very, very end, right before graduation. But people were very accepting. But it is something if you're afraid of someone like judging or someone just basically how they would react if they found out and they didn't know. It is like useful to disclose and just be out in the open.
Yeah. So this is also why I feel like I have to be comfortable with someone before I share. But I've obviously close to the disability office and to previous employments. And yeah, I just feel like whenever you're comfortable around someone and feel that they're open-minded, then that's when I'm willing to share a more deeper part of who I am. And that is, of course, the autism diagnosis.
Great. So looks like we've got a question here that we from somebody. Are there? This isn't for anybody on the panel, but I just want to address it, and I'm going to promise you that we'll answer it. Are there any strategies educators can utilize to better support autistic students, and where can they find resources? So Dr. Jan Blatcher, who is the executive producer of the film and is at UC Riverside, she was supposed to be on this panel. We had a little bit of a deal where we couldn't get her on at the last minute. So I promise if you go to our Facebook page, Autism Goes to College on Facebook, she will answer that question there. So you will get your answer. I'm sorry, nobody on here really has the answer to that. Although I will say that part of phase 2 of the Autism Goes to College project is the creation of an online resource center for faculty and educators, as well as families who have children in high school looking ahead, wondering what college looks like. We are in the process of producing media, short videos to create an online resource center that hopefully in a couple months to a year, you'll be able to go on our website and access some of that information, which should help with that. Okay, we have a question here. Can you address the importance of having understanding professors in college? What was most helpful to you?
I'll start.
Okay, Guillermo.
Sorry. Patience and understanding is really the most important thing a professor can have, not only to all their other students, but especially to students with autism, because it is completely necessary, not just for a professor to be patient and understanding with students that are neurotypical in order for them to get the material, but they also have to be extra patient and understanding for some students who are on the spectrum, who do need extra help. And while yes, there is office hours and all these other things, sometimes office hours can get slammed. Sometimes things might come up. Sometimes life happens and it's just something, some people say, okay, you just have to accept it. But when you're a person with autism and that happens with strict rigor and things like that, especially because people with autism, we love our routines, we love, our order and everything. If that doesn't happen, then we don't know what to do. So professors really do have to be on their guard in a sense to know how the students are going to deal with it.
Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, patience and understanding is the key for both students and teachers, because the teachers have to make sure the students don't get a bit overwhelmed and excited and go into tantrums if things in the classroom end up going not as expected of their personal internalized scheduling. And the students have to let the teachers know ahead of time about their condition so that the teachers can help them. But the students ultimately have to help themselves. They have to make sure to gain enough confidence within themselves in order to keep themselves calm during times of extreme pressure. Ultimately, the teachers and the students have to work together in order for them to properly survive and pass the class without incident.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just feel like having a level of understanding for your students with disabilities or with autism is really important for professors to understand where each student is coming from, so we can advocate for ourselves, so we can tell what our needs are. And so there's that level of understanding, which is really important, especially for students that may be struggling on a deeper level.
That's a good point.
For me, nothing super big because I didn't have too many issues in college, more in high school. But just communication is the best.
Okay, great. Okay, we got a question here about social, fitting in socially. The question is, it just moved on me. Where were there any social groups at the college that anyone joined that helped with the transition or provide support while they were there?
So I joined
speak more broadly about social life in college. Sorry, Caroline, go ahead.
That's okay. I joined some clubs and organizations that helped me get to know different people because I wanted to create kind of a social network of people I can connect with. And I felt like that was a way I could do that. Or even if there's, free food on campus, or if there's a way to meet up with different people, I would definitely take advantage of that because there's not always a way you can access that when there's so many students at such a large campus. So I did that by joining organizations and by participating and just making my face a well-known face on campus and for people to know that I'm someone they can rely on.
Anyone else?
Joined an anime club. That's something.
That's the same thing for me. I only joined for about a semester or two. Then I joined DSS's Life Project in order to get acquainted with the other autistic students on campus at Cal State Long Beach. Stayed with them for the remaining few semesters until I graduated. Haven't had much contact with them and since then, so...
Jonathan, can you explain to people who maybe don't know what the Life Project is, what that was and how you got involved?
Life Project is sort of like an after-school or in-club meeting between autistic students that are a part of DSS's lineup. So DSS brings all these autistic kids together and teaches them various things about how to search for jobs, how to make friends, how to push back confidences, and they do it with very simplistic activities that the more severe students can easily handle. And I was one of the more advanced type students, but I went along with the activities just to be social.
And as I understand it, there was free food, which was a big attractor.
Sometimes they had potluck activities, but if you didn't bring any food, you would have to provide a $7 contribution in order to take part in the banquets. Potlucks.
Great. Anyone else want on that?
For me, all my extracurriculars are more career related for me versus my major. So it was a huge network for the theater department, because you're basically, when you're in productions, you're spending all your time with people, which is very new to me. And then the next few years, it was just like Caroline, joining a lot of different orgs, trying to get involved in different things and expand my horizons, like helping with the TEDx chapter. And it was nice for the adjustment because you found people who were very like-minded that you normally wouldn't meet outside of college, because those are a little bit, you could, but they're a bit trickier to find in college, makes it easier. And it also made me a bit more comfortable and prepared for the real world to be talking to people that I normally wouldn't talk to and that kind of stuff.
Anyone else?
I think that was it.
Oh, okay. All right. So the next question is, do you feel like you use what you learned in your college courses in your work after graduation? So for those of you, yeah, that have graduated, which is, Caroline, you're going for more school, but for the rest of you, like how valuable was college to your after college experience?
I may not have a job in my major currently, but I do feel like the way college has taught me to really think outside the box and see every detail and really study how everything is and to keep an open mind about everything really did help me in the long run, even though I may not be working at this moment as at something that I have studied.
What Guillermo said, plus the fact that it's the wisdom and experience from my family that has taught me to become more of a man inside. More college taught me the education types of things, but continued living with my family for these last few months has helped me more become a man emotionally in order to think quickly on my feet while I'm out there.
For me particularly, I am getting closer to what I want to do, although it ended up not being my major. It was my minor and all of my extracurriculars. And maybe that's because it was entertainment related more, although I feel like it applies to some other fields as well. But I think it was college that even introduced me that I was interested in that, because I felt like if I had known I wanted to do that, I would have gone into college for something different, because that was a huge fear of mine in college, and also a little bit of thing that I didn't know what I wanted to do going into college. And so it did help me get my start. It got me my first internship, which has led to my job, even though it took a whole year of interviewing after my internship, which is not normal because normally internships are during your college. I'm lucky I got mine after, and I was still able to do it to get the experience. But it was college and the opportunity there and the extracurriculars, although some of my classes were a bit more related, but it still teaches you to be organized, to be focused, and to kind of put in a lot of work, which a lot of jobs require no matter what field you're going into.
Great. Anybody else have anything to add on that?
I just want to say, yeah, I mean, I'm not going into grad school immediately after, but I feel like everything we learn in college, we bring right into the workforce, right? So all those social skills, those educational outlets and things we learn within the classroom, we bring that to the workforce. So I'm hoping that soon I'll find a job within my desired field, but if not, there's always something to learn. And I hope I can always grow as a person by being part of this experience.
Great. We have a very important question here for Guillermo, which is, what are you doing to pursue your goals as a comedian?
Right now, it's kind of put on hold, honestly, due to, well, pandemic, finding work and everything. But I mean, I have a Facebook page, so, well, not a Facebook page, just my regular Facebook account where I try to post things that are funny, but it's mostly dogs right now. I don't know. Writer's block is a real thing.
Okay. So, what advice do you have for first-year college students who also have autism?
Taco Bell is your friend.
That's regardless of the diagnosis, though, right, Guillermo?
It's for everyone, but in earnest, I feel like it is more helpful for you to first disclose your diagnosis to the disability office or whatever it's called in your college. Excuse me. Yes, disclosing is very important, and try to find a group or something that you enjoy, maybe after your first week of college, to really get to know what's going on in the college, because you could try to join a bunch of different organizations and you'd be all excited, and then you realize that college is just going to beat you up academically because of how different it is, academically and everything. And then what happens is, well, then you don't know if you have any time for the organizations and stuff. But with any hope, you'll be able to, get your stride, find your footing, and hopefully make friends and make college a worthwhile experience.
So Guillermo, you talked about going to the Disability Services Office right away. Can you talk about what that process was like for you, and how was it helpful to you? What did they do for you?
Well, what they did for me was many blessings. They gave me a special room where I could take tests in with extra time and more peace of mind, instead of being in a, with everyone else in the room and having just the normal amount of time. So, that high stress
So they help
situation.
facilitate accommodations for you.
Yes. Many accommodations were facilitated, and especially with Aniella, with what she was talking about earlier about choosing classes, especially general education classes. Well, I got something known as priority enrollment, which basically meant, oh, hey, right when the first people can choose their classes, you can choose your classes too. So you got in first and you were able to choose your classes, and that stress is completely off your shoulders. No need to be waitlisted or anything. And to answer your question about the process, well, the process is very simple. Well, simple in a sense, but the thing is, when you're going into college, you're more hyped up about actually going and doing the fun stuff rather than the serious stuff. So try to find your footing and find time to go to the Disability Service Office, have your paperwork if you have any, to let them know, hey, I have the autismo. This is my certified autismo card. Let me go in, okay, free, accommodations please now. And that's how it'll work. Well,
And
not exactly,
did you get assigned to a counselor? Did you meet with that person regularly? How helpful was that counseling?
Oh, well, I don't know exactly, they were like a specialist, or I don't know exactly. I did meet with them many times. As shown in the movie, it was a person that the teacher barged in on. I mean, professor barged in on. And what happened is that it was actually kind of different, because they actually did want to speak to me, just because, they just want to see what was going on. They were like, oh, hey, Guillermo, we just want to talk to you, see what's going on and everything like that.
But so was that one person that you had an ongoing relationship with at the DSS office, who was kind of your go-to person?
Yes.
And how important was that relationship in your college experience?
Very important, because it really felt like I had a space to vent and talk to someone who understood what I was going through. Because, trying to get actual counseling is very hard sometimes, because you have to be in like a crisis or something, especially with how mental health services are in this country. And at the time I did have an actual therapist, but the therapist was not very empathetic at that moment, so I had to get a new therapist. Thankfully, the new therapist was very empathetic, but that's usually how it goes. And I am very blessed and happy to have someone like that. I had someone like that in my college career.
Great. And so I want to get back to this advice for first-year college students with autism, but I want anybody else that had an experience with a counselor at the DSS office, or anything specific to do with their relationship with the DSS office, that they'd like to share. Aniella, I know you had a moment where you went to the DSS office when you were having kind of a rough patch. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it actually was almost identical to high school, because I wouldn't recommend it, but going into college, definitely know what resources are available. I was under the impression I could get by without them, and it wasn't until both in high school and college I reached my second year and it got really tricky, that my parents pushed me to go to the office and to get any help, and which led to me getting a priority schedule. So I didn't have to go in, or I didn't quite need the full extent of what Guillermo was using, but the priority schedule was really something that really just helped me in general. So that was not a really extensive experience, but it was definitely helpful. So I'm going to college as a first year, definitely go into that, versus me where I figured it out as I went along. And probably was only able to do that because my parents were really on top of my diagnosis. Because I have a lot of friends who are also on the spectrum, but they didn't get diagnosed until much later because I was 3 when I got diagnosed. So they weren't able to get the same things I did on the spot because of their the paperwork, essentially.
And then did you have a relationship with one person at the DSS office who was kind of your go-to person there? What was that relationship like?
I didn't, unfortunately. I just was mainly in email chains for the
I see.
priority schedule.
Okay, and Jonathan, I know that through the Life Project, you wound up having a peer coach who was a woman who was a graduate student at
Yeah,
Cal
I
State
think
Long Beach.
Gonzalez.
Can you talk about that relationship and how helpful that was?
Well, talking with Eileen Gonzalez helped me figure out what I was doing wrong in various classes, making sure to keep myself under control, and sometimes figuring out how to handle my personal life ahead of outside of the classes so that I could handle my budget, my dietary habit. It's what I could do when not out of the classes, how to study, keep right, basically that kind of stuff.
Great. And Caroline?
Yeah, I definitely had a counselor who was my go-to person if I was having some mental health troubles, or if I just needed someone to talk to. They were there for my support and guidance, and I really appreciated that. And so I think that having at least some sort of social outlet or people you can connect with on campus is really important, so you can feel that your space is valued and used.
And Caroline, you got involved with a board that was run through the Disability Services Office.
Right,
That was like
the
a student
Disability
advisory.
Advisory Board, and that's now closed. But I was also part of Able Advocators, which is a disability club on campus, and a mental health awareness club. So I've certainly stepped my foot into different outlets, and I've been part of Student Life and Leadership, where I've spent time with young adults with special needs through a transition program. And so I've really enjoyed just spending different times in different outlets, making sure people are taken care of.
Great. And anybody else have any specific advice for somebody who it's their first year, either at junior college or at a 4-year university with autism? Anything that hasn't been covered yet?
No, just get involved. That's just gonna be your first key to meeting people. It's gonna be your outlet.
So it sounds like get involved, disclose, and don't be afraid to ask for help is kind
Absolutely.
of the general feedback. Yeah. Okay. The next question is there anything you wish your educators had done differently when you first went into college? So I guess that would specifically be around your teachers.
Not necessarily. I feel like it's our job to advocate for ourselves. So if they want to help kind of push us and guide us towards how to do that, that'd be awesome. Like the program Jonathan was a part of. Not everyone has that. Or if there's a special kind of program that helps you figure out how you can use your voice to better assist yourself as a student. Just whatever your needs may be, make sure you're using it to the best of your ability.
And so that to that specific question, to that specific point, there's another question that is, did any of you research which colleges had programs like the Life Project or similar, like what were their disability supports? Did any of you take that into consideration in choosing your college?
Well, I absolutely did. I took into factor, I was going to apply to Cal State Fullerton, and I was considering actually Long Beach, but I wanted to stay near home because this is where all my resources were. And I wasn't ready to live far away yet. So that's just kind of why I decided.
Anyone else about how you chose your college, and did you look at the supports that were available before going? Was that a consideration?
Actually, no. I discovered both Access and DSS by accident when I applied for Moore Park and Cal State Long Beach. I was mostly in it for the animation program at Cal State Long Beach, and as a general overall close college to my home then, and for Moore Park. I only
Okay, great.
discovered them and when I discussed it with my parents that I should end up joining said programs once I got into the colleges so that I could take advantage of their resources in order to help myself out while I was attending classes there.
Okay. There's another question that I'm going to refer on to Dr. Jan Blatcher to answer on our Facebook page. This is from Felicia. Do colleges collect statistics on why students with autism may drop out of school and use that feedback to implement more supports? So Felicia, Dr. Jan Blatcher will give a swipe at answering that question on our Facebook page shortly. So you can look there for that. Okay, so we're getting low on time. I wanted to maybe talk briefly about dating. I know it's a subject that a lot of people are interested in. College can be a time of exploring that maybe for the first time for some people. Guillermo, since you're the one with the news to break with us here today, can you talk a little bit about your experiences in college, dating, trying to date, being successful, being unsuccessful, and what ultimately led you to this hilltop you reside on today?
Oh, geez, you're giving me a lot of pressure here. Well, what happens is college was honestly a series of unsuccessful ventures, mainly because, well, college is just a very difficult place. Everyone's dealing with their own stuff, and now they have to deal with a 250-pound piece of Mexican chuck wanting to love them. So it's a very strange, difficult situation that basically causes a lot of issues. And what happened was that it all just catches you by, like, the thing about love is that sometimes, like it happened to me, it just catches you by surprise. And I'm really happy it did. And I wish I had anything else to say more, but I just really don't. It's just, college is just one of those places where you have to try, but even if you don't try, it's not the end of the world.
Mm-hmm. Okay, anybody else have any specific advice on that front?
Even though I'm no longer with the person I was with in the film, I'm very happy now. So I think anyone on the spectrum that wants to find dating or to find someone that with the same interests, again, find a social outlet at school. If you want to find someone at school, there's always people to get to know. And that's where I met my partner. I met them at a Valentine's Day event hosted by the disability office. So that's pretty awesome. But anyways, if you're into online dating, do that. But just be true to who you are. And then you'll find someone that is true to your match.
Anybody else want to add anything? Okay, so I think we're going to wrap it up at this point, but I do, there's a couple of questions that are outstanding. I just want to let you know, if you put a question in, it will get answered. One of our students or somebody involved with the film will answer it on our Facebook page today or tomorrow or the next day in the coming days. So please follow us on social media. That's where we make all the announcements about everything that's going on with the film. That's where you can get the news and information. Also, again, our website, autismgoestocollege.org. It's important that it's the .org, where we have links to everything going on with the film, including all the upcoming screenings, how to host a screening. We make it really easy to host online screenings like this. So if your school or organization, high school, college, junior college, nonprofit wants to host a screening, I promise to try my best to recruit these lovely young adults to be in a Q&A afterwards. Really, thank you in advance for sharing information about the film with anyone that you think might be helped by it. We intend this film to be a resource for faculty, for current students, for their families, for high school students, for their families. So please help us promote it and get it out there and share it on social media. And if there's any specific requests you have for us, let us know. Contact us on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or through our website and let us know how we can be of more help to you. So with that, I'd like to thank our panelists, Aniella, Jonathan, Guillermo, and Caroline for showing up here and offering their time and insights. And I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you enjoyed the Q&A, and take care, everyone. And we will see you on social media.